Hannibal versus Rome, the war that terrified an empire. Hannibal Barca, a commander so terrifying that Roman mothers once warned their children, "If you misbehave, Hannibal will come." This is the story of the man who shook the greatest empire of the ancient world. Two powers dominated the Western Mediterranean, Rome and Carthage. Their rivalry was inevitable, their hatred centuries deep. But one man would turn that rivalry into a nightmare for Rome. At just 9 years old, Hannibal was led to a temple by his father, Hannibal Barca. There, he swore a sacred oath to never rest until Rome was destroyed. That oath would shape the fate of millions. Hannibal possessed a mind built for war, strategic, daring, unpredictable. Soldiers followed him not out of duty, but devotion. His men would cross mountains and deserts simply because he asked them to. Rome believed no enemy could truly threaten them. Their legions were unmatched, their discipline unbreakable. They saw Carthage as a merchant, power-rich, clever, but soft. This arrogance would cost them dearly. In 218 BCE, sparks ignited into fire. Hannibal seized a Roman-allied city, and Rome declared war. What they didn't know was that Hannibal was about to bring that war to their doorstep. After his father's death, Hannibal became commander of the Carthaginian armies in Spain. Young, brilliant, and fiercely loyal to his oath, he began preparing for a war only he knew was coming. Hannibal studied Rome obsessively. He mapped their supply lines, alliances, terrain, and weaknesses. His plan was radical: strike Rome not from the sea, but through the mountains. His army was a mosaic: Spaniards, Libyans, Numidian cavalry, Balearic slingers, and of course, the legendary war elephants. Each unit fought differently, and Hannibal fused them into a single deadly machine. Rome assumed Hannibal would attack by sea, as in the First Punic War. They fortified coastlines and prepared their fleets, completely unaware he had chosen the most unthinkable path. Hannibal led 90,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and 37 elephants across Spain and into southern Gaul. His march was relentless. He moved fast, avoiding Roman traps and outmaneuvering tribal ambushes. As he advanced, Hannibal spread whispers of an unstoppable commander, elephants the size of towers, and a vow of revenge. Fear traveled ahead of him long before his army arrived. Rome expected Hannibal to be stalled at the Rhône River. Instead, he crossed it with brilliant deception. While his main force pushed rafts forward, hidden troops ambushed enemy scouts on the far bank. Roman consul Publius Scipio rushed north to intercept Hannibal, but Hannibal moved faster, slipping past him in the night. By the time Rome realized, he was already disappearing into the Alpine shadows. The Alps were death for most armies, but Hannibal saw opportunity. Snow, cliffs, avalanches, and hostile tribes waited, yet he pressed on. Soldiers followed him because he never asked them to go anywhere he wouldn't. The sight was unreal. African war elephants climbing icy slopes. Many died, but their presence crushed tribal resistance. Hannibal used shock and spectacle as weapons, as powerful as swords. The descent was worse than the climb. Rock slides shattered paths. Warriors fell hundreds of meters, and supplies dwindled. Hannibal encouraged survivors personally, sharing their hunger and cold. After 15 brutal days, a battered yet unbroken army emerged from the Alps. Barely half survived, but Rome now faced what they thought impossible: a foreign army invading their homeland. Rome had never seen a foreign army inside Italy. Panic spread through the Senate. Consuls argued. Generals blamed each other. But Hannibal stayed calm. Chaos was his ally. Hannibal baited the Roman consul Sempronius into attacking at dawn. Freezing rain, icy rivers, tired soldiers, everything favored Carthage. Sempronius charged anyway, blinded by pride. While Rome pushed forward, Hannibal's concealed troops burst from the riverbanks. Surrounded and overwhelmed, Roman formations collapsed. Thousands died. The survivors fled in terror. Despite defeat, Rome insisted Hannibal's victories were luck. They believed sheer numbers would crush him. They prepared yet another massive army, twice the size of anything Hannibal had faced. Hannibal chose the perfect battlefield, a misty valley by Lake Trasimene with hills on 3 sides and water on the 4th. Rome entered blindly, and Hannibal closed the trap. As the fog lifted, Carthaginian troops descended from every ridge. Rome had no space to form lines. It wasn't a battle, it was slaughter. Nearly the entire Roman force was destroyed. When news reached the city, people screamed in the streets. Senators wept. For the first time, Rome feared extinction. They appointed a dictator, Fabius Maximus. Fabius refused open battle. He stalked Hannibal's army, cutting supplies, burning fields, avoiding traps. Hannibal admired him but also mocked him. Fabius wins by not fighting. Romans hated Fabius' cautious tactics. They demanded a decisive victory, and so, in a surge of arrogance, they replaced him with 2 new consuls, commanding the largest army Rome had ever assembled. Hannibal positioned himself near the dusty plains of Cannae. He stood vastly outnumbered, but numbers meant nothing to a commander who could bend armies like pieces on a chessboard. A hot wind blew dust across the plain. Hannibal positioned his troops so the dust blinded the Romans. Their massive army marched forward blindly straight toward disaster. Hannibal placed his weakest infantry at the center, forming a slight outward curve. As Rome pushed, the center bent slowly, deliberately pulling the Romans deeper into a deadly funnel. At the perfect moment, Hannibal's elite African infantry pivoted inward. Numidian cavalry crushed Rome's horsemen. The trap snapped shut. Rome was surrounded on all sides. In the choking dust, Roman soldiers couldn't breathe, see, or move. Shield against shield, they died standing, crushed by their own comrades. It was annihilation on an industrial scale. Up to 50,000 Romans were killed in a single day. It became the bloodiest battle in ancient Western history. The Senate lost a generation, senators, consuls, nobles all gone. Back in the city, panic became despair. Rituals were performed, omens sought, sacrifices made. Hannibal was no longer a man, he was a force of nature, a living curse. Many ask, why didn't he attack the city? His army was exhausted, wounded, and ill-equipped for sieges. His generals urged caution, and Rome's walls were among the strongest in the world. Cannae should have ended Rome. Any other empire would have collapsed. But Rome was different. They responded to catastrophe with cold, relentless determination. The war was far from over. After Cannae, Hannibal waited for reinforcements from Carthage, but politics, jealousy, and fear stalled every request. His victories had shocked his own government as much as Rome. Rome refused surrender. They raised new legions, trained teenagers, freed slaves to fill ranks, and forbade public mourning. Cannae became a lesson not to defeat. For years, Hannibal fought across Italy with dwindling supplies. His brilliant tactics continued, but without reinforcements, victory slipped further away. Rome strangled Carthage slowly and methodically. A young Roman general rose, Publius Cornelius Scipio. He studied Hannibal, learned from his tactics, and turned Rome's strategy upside down by attacking Carthage's homeland. Hannibal was recalled from Italy to defend Carthage. After 16 years of victories on enemy soil, he sailed home with an army tired, reduced, and far from the unstoppable force he once commanded. At Zama, Hannibal faced Scipio, 2 geniuses meeting at last, but Scipio copied Hannibal's own methods. He neutralized the elephants, broke the formation, and crushed the Carthaginian lines. Hannibal survived but knew the truth. The war was lost. Carthage surrendered harsh terms, its navy destroyed, its treasury drained, and its empire dissolved. Hannibal became a hunted man. For years, he served foreign kings, offering counsel while Rome demanded his surrender. Even in exile, Rome feared his mind more than any army. Cornered and refusing to be taken alive, Hannibal took poison. His final words echoed his lifelong hatred of Rome. Let us relieve the Romans from their long-held fear of an old man. Hannibal's tactics shaped every military genius after him: Scipio, Caesar, Frederick the Great, Napoleon. Rome defeated him, but never surpassed him. His shadow still marches across history.